tubas, percussion, and color guard, and prop students who are behind the props, come on out in front of your props so you can hear our remarks and see the Jumbotron. Good evening, folks, and thank you for being here today. Tonight. Pretty overwhelmed by the number of people that are here to see our students. So thank you for coming on short notice. I'm going to talk for a while here because I need to thank a lot of people that make this event happen, this program happen. It's an amazing community, and this community is why we have a band program like the band program we have. I'm going to begin by thanking some unsung heroes that make our band look good online. They help us put together applications. They let parents see incredible pictures of their kids. We have the world's most amazing photographer crew, and I want to thank those folks. We've got a student photographer named Emma Chase, who's not even attached to the band, but kind of volunteered to work. We've got the incredible work of Spencer Hochstetler and Polk Chandler. Amazing, amazing, talented people. And of course, Jen Golden has been photographing our band kids for, I don't know, a very long time. So we've got a lot of folks who do a lot of work to make our band look good. Another person who helps our band look good is one of the most dedicated KCS volunteers of all time. Melissa Dixon has been our uniform mom for a very long time. And you don't know how much you value Melissa's eye for making our kids look good until you see other bands. And then you know, wow, our kids' uniforms fit. She takes time to make sure every kid has all the materials they need. She's the perfect blend of getting them what they need, but chewing them out when they forget stuff. It's so perfect. And she graduates this year, and we're trying to convince her to stay. I don't think it's going to happen, but we will be looking for some new uniform volunteers, a very rewarding volunteer position because you really get to know the students. It's a lot of work, but you do get to know the kids. So we'll be putting out feelers on that. chaperones. Christy Robinson headed our chaperone group. We could not do what we do, and we could not take care of your students on trips without chaperones. Stand up if you chaperoned a trip or a ball game this year. Stand up and let us thank you for that. There's lots of you around. Yes. We are very fortunate to have Tippy DeFries. Tippy drives our truck, and we are lucky to have someone always on hand to do that. Anytime you're dealing with a group of people this large, there are all the logistical considerations that maybe you as band parents don't think about. But we've got to haul sometimes thousands of drinks with us when we travel. And the Purdue family, Greg and Cynthia, have been our drink folks. Let's thank them. On these long bus trips where it's often hard to find a place to stop to feed 300 or 400 people, we have the Congello family who are working to provide snacks on the buses for your kids. Let's thank the Congellos. Our booster officers, Ruth Adams, our treasurer, Suzanne Ferguson, also a treasurer, and especially Amy and Hunter Halliburton, and Ann and Jonathan Pierce. Ann and Amy they're basically like band directors at Dobyns-Bennett. They are so important to the operational functionality of our program. They give up hundreds of hours of their time. Amy Halliburton has learned that if she wants a response from me, she just drives to the band room and barges in the office and asks me the necessary questions so that she gets the information she needs so she can keep you informed. So I want to thank especially Amy and Ann, but our entire Booster Officer Corps. They're amazing volunteers. And then our black shirts. Now look at these props. I cannot tell you how many compliments. I'm going to give you a chance to applaud for them, but I want to brag on them first. We rolled into BOA Grand Nationals with these props, and everyone who saw them stopped me and said, "Lafe, how much did you pay for these? Who in the world, what corporation made these band props?" And when the BOA folks found out that our volunteers put these together, they tried to convince the black shirts to start their own company. You know, a marching band prop company. These things are professional looking. They are a second iteration. The first round of props, the black shirts weren't as happy with them as they wanted to be. And so instead of just going with it, they went back to the drawing board and literally recreated the props from scratch a second time. I heard from Tim Hall, their chairperson, before the second round of props that they had 2,000 plus volunteer hours on making these props. In addition to that, they move all the equipment. These guys are taking hours and hours off their real jobs to be over here during the day, to assemble props before performances, to disassemble them, to load them on the truck, then to reassemble them on Sundays in preparation for the next week's rehearsals. It's truly overwhelming to me the amount of time that these fellas put in, and ladies, put in to these props and making sure these kids had the materials they needed to perform a show that ended up being so nationally recognized. So let's give a huge standing ovation for our black shirts. We're also fortunate that corporations in our region recognize the hard work of these students and the excellence they achieve. And so getting corporate partnerships with the band, amazingly, isn't that challenging, because our regional leaders seem to recognize that the value the Dobyns-Bennett Band brings to the kids' lives, and hopefully our region too. Ballad Health paid for the wrapping of our truck. Still Transportation here in Kingsport bailed us out when we could not find rental trucks to haul our equipment. Domtar, yeah, for sure. Domtar donated warehouse space so that these black shirts I mentioned could construct these props over a 2-month period out of the weather. So thank you, Domtar, for the warehouse space. And then band parent Jeff Newman owns a printing company, and so we want to thank Jeff and Acme Printing, who were the people really who were behind helping us create the second iteration of these props that look so good. So thank you, Acme Printing and Jeff Newman. And then for the moment, I'll also thank one last group of people, and that's the staff members who work with these students and are such a big part of me enjoying my job and your kids getting an amazing music education. I get to be the upfront guy, and I'm on the microphone and I'm in the interviews, but I am one small piece of a lot of adult teachers who are helping our band succeed. I want to introduce these folks, and a lot of them are down here, some of them aren't. Our percussion staff is Josh Cassidy and Jeff Upshaw and Daniel Del Moro. Step out here, Daniel, wave. All three of these guys are relatively new to our staff, and Jeff and Daniel are brand new to our staff this year, and they've done incredible work. When you hear the show, so much of what we're doing with amplification of the vocalists and the soloists, that has to do with Mr. Upshaw's expertise with the soundscape stuff. And we would never have tried this show if Jeff Upshaw hadn't decided to move to Kingsport and help us out. So let's hear it for our percussion staff. We have gotten so much attention this year about our color guard, and people have raved about our color guard. Our color guard puts in a lot of hours. Honestly, the color guard puts in more hours than any section in our band. And they've got also some incredibly dedicated teachers. Judy Schown has been our color guard sponsor since longer than I've been here, 30 plus years. Catherine Gilbert's an alumni of our program and has been on our staff for a number of years as well, and a great teacher. And then I think Jed Garvey, our color guard director, is he might be staff MVP for the work he does with our color guard. And so I want to congratulate Jed on his amazing work. Come out, Jed. Come out. Jed has the right blend of caring for students and being very demanding. He parcels those things out in just the right quantities, and it equals a successful color guard. So thank you to Jed and his folks. And then one of the things that has made this show special is the addition of our vocalists. And our choir kids are amazing musicians who accepted this opportunity with open arms. When I went to Patty Denmark, the choir director at Dobyns-Bennett, and just kind of floated this idea, I really didn't know what to expect. And she instantly responded, yes, we're in. Like it was a 3-word text, yes, we're in. And Patty and her assistant, Johnny Lepke, have been incredible additions to this year's adult staff. And so come out, are you guys? Yes, come out here and let us recognize you and your kids' contributions. I appreciated Patty, who is a veteran teacher, who said to me late one night, like on the second competition, she looked at me and said, "How long have you been doing this?" Because she wasn't the band thing is pretty grueling, you know, the late nights and the Fridays and the Saturday competitions. And it's been neat to involve them in our program or for them to recognize, that band and choir aren't all that different. We've got other young staff members who have helped us as student teachers, Maggie Gallimore and Rebecca Holly from ETSU, and then another alumni of the program who moved back to Kingsport to help us, who has hung up a shingle to teach woodwinds in Kingsport and has been a vital component of our fall program in helping the prop students. He's really the prop student band director, and that's Corey Seguin. And so come out, Corey, let us thank you. And forgive me for talking so long, but I'm getting close. I said that was the last group. A couple more groups. This whole thing, I'd love to say that these incredible shows we do are my idea, and we put our footprint on them for sure. But we've got an incredible group of designers who help us put together these shows. There's a gentleman named Wes Cartwright who really made himself famous in this world by being the designer of the Broken Arrow Band. They won Grand Nationals this year. And I'm not sure that citizens of Kingsport are aware that the same people who designed Broken Arrow's show are designing our show. He called me about 5 years ago, and I'd never met him. I'd heard his name and certainly knew about Broken Arrow. And he called me and said, Lafe, we've not met, but I've seen your band at Grand Nationals, and I want Dobyns-Bennett to be my pet project. We're going to get you in finals. And me and my design team, we want to design for your band. And then he did that, and the next year, we made finals. And he and his folks have been a really important part of these incredible shows we do. Working with Wes is our drill writer, Leon May, and then an incredible young man who's arranged our music for 10 years, Will Pitts. Will isn't here tonight. I know the band kids love Will. He comes in multiple times a year, and Will Pitts is a huge part of the DB band family. And next time he's in town, if you're around, come thank Will Pitts. He puts these arrangements together and does an amazing job. This show, yes. And then the last two, Jacob Carpenter is our new assistant band director. Jacob moved in from teaching in Indiana. He's an Ohio native, came with some great experiences from being a big-time drum corps drum major and on staff at a drum corps, and has been an incredible addition. We're so thankful Jacob and his girlfriend Michelle have moved here to be with us. Jacob, come out and let us thank you. And then Ryan Gilbert. Ryan and I have been teaching together for 20 years, maybe more, 21 years. And we're like an old married couple. And he is never one to be in the limelight. But these kids know, and I think most of you know, that he is a huge, maybe the hugest part of our band's success. He's sort of an unsung component because he doesn't like the limelight. But Ryan is an incredible musician, an incredible teacher. His interactions with students make them love him instantly. And I love the guy. So Ryan, come out here and let us thank Ryan Gilbert. He hates this so much. Okay, I made it through that. I'm going to introduce someone to you who has been an incredible advocate and stakeholder in the band. And his purpose in talking tonight will become obvious when you hear him speak, because he's an incredible advocate for music education nationally, but he's ours because he's from Kingsport. David Golden was Band Booster president years ago. He had 5 students, he and his wife Jen had 5 students go through the band. He's been an incredible volunteer in our region. He's been on the board of trustees for ETSU. He's on the board of directors for Ballot Health. He's been plugged into every initiative that works to further our region economically, educationally. He is a huge advocate for making sure that our region, his line, is doing world-class things in a rural setting. And he recently accepted a board position on the board of directors for Music for All, which is the parent company for Bands of America. And so a Kingsport person is now, I mean, he doesn't advocate for Dobyns-Bennett specifically, but it's kind of good he's up there watching out for us at these events. I've heard him speak on the topic of music education. I'm going to give him an opportunity to just tell you a little bit about the scope of Grand Nationals. For those of you that have not been, I think it's interesting to hear kind of what we're up against when Dobyns-Bennett from Kingsport, Tennessee goes to compete there. Please welcome David Golden to the microphone.
Thanks. Good evening. There's a slight lag. I'm going to have to figure this out. You do it really well, Mr. Cook. So for those of you who don't know about Music for All and Grand Nationals, I wanted to give you a little bit of context because it will help you understand what the band accomplished this year. Music for All is the largest music platform in the country it's a 501c3 non-for-profit that advocates for music excellence and pushes that every student in America has a transformative music experience. Music for All touches about 500,000 students a year. So it's not as big as it needs to be, but it's the largest platform in America. Music for All, there are about 22,000 instrumented high school music programs in the country. There are Music for All regionals that occur across the country, and about 100 bands end up at Grand Nationals. It's the largest competitive marching band stage in the country. Of those 100 bands, about 34 makes semifinals, 12 makes finals. And Dobyns-Bennett this year was the only high school marching band from a city the size of Kingsport to have made finals. If you look at all the bands that placed ahead of Dobyns-Bennett, they come from affluent suburban high schools in large metropolitan areas. My wife and I had the opportunity to go to Carmel, Indiana, and drive by Carmel High School. It's 5,200 students. Carmel placed slightly ahead of Dobyns-Bennett. The fact that we can stand on the same stage as these other high schools is incredible. And I won't name them, but if you follow marching band, you know who they are. We placed ahead of a bunch of them. There's one in South Carolina I'm thinking about. That was a big deal. So you might ask the question, why music? If you look at every positive statistic for regional prosperity, every single one of them are positively correlated with music education. Every single one. If you want more literacy, numeracy, positive workforce development, lower drug abuse, lower teen pregnancy, you name it, you want to drive that, invest in music education. If you were to identify one state that has the strongest marching band programs in the country, it's Texas. You may not know this, but state and local school systems, when they start to see statistics go backwards, they increase funding in music. They float bonds to increase the investment in music programs. And it pays off. So I'll end with an ask. I love our show this evening and this season because it reminds me of a story. Some of you may remember the Battle of Kings Mountain. If you don't know it, there was a British major that was bad-mouthing our region. He was going through South Carolina and winning battles, and he heard there were some of the people here that were thinking about fighting him, and so he sent a letter and threatened them. Tough lesson. Don't tell us what to do. This region, when it gets behind something, heaven help who's on the other side of us. I had 4 sixth-generation grandfathers go over mountain, and 2 that fought on Kings Mountain, and Major Ferguson was defeated in 57 minutes. We are behind music education. Heaven help anyone who tries to get in the way of us. My ask, stay behind music education. The road's only going to get a little harder. Please stay behind. Corporate sponsors, let's double that. Donations to help the band. Mr. Cook never asked for donations in a place like this. Donate. Please continue to make this band #1 in the country. And we can't do it without you. So thank you for everything you've done and everything you're going to do. Mr. Cook left out one person to thank, and that is the director of bands for Kingsport City School System and his supportive family, which we couldn't do without them. Mr. Cook, thank you. Standing ovation. Come on. Too much, did I? Did I do okay?
Oof. I cried so much this weekend in India, I'm about out of tears. Happy tears, for sure. Anytime you start thanking people, you forget some. And I'm thankful to those who texted me to remind me of a group of very important volunteers I left out. And these kids should have reminded me too. The moms who come and take care of the kids at practice, we call them water moms. That's a very important group. So let's hear it for the water moms. So this show, which we're getting ready to finally do, kids, I know you stood there a long time. This show was not written for this band. This show was written for the band a year ago, and then when the pandemic happened, we shelved it. This show was not written for this band. This show was not written for this instrumentation. It was written for a band that existed at Dobyns-Bennett 2 years ago. But we couldn't afford to take a show that we designed and paid for and just throw it away and do a new one. So we kept the show. And these kids, that sounds like not a big deal, but when the show is written for a specific number of instruments and the arrangements are made to feature certain musicians who are currently in the band, and then those kids graduate, and these kids have to step up and do that show, even though it wasn't written for them. An example of how that mattered was we graduated a ton of baritones 2 years ago, and we didn't even have enough baritones to fill the spots this year. And so kids are switching over. I got tuba players who step up to the plate to learn a new instrument, trumpet players who do the same thing. I've got kids switching from clarinet to bass clarinet. And all of that happened as kids volunteered to learn new instruments, and it still equaled a championship performance. This is one example of how these kids have overcome a very challenging year. And it's also important to recognize, hold on, I got one more. It's also important to recognize the kids who graduated last year who didn't get to do this show. This was meant to be their show. But those kids played an important role in navigating us through the pandemic year so that when school got back to normal, our band program was still in good shape. And those seniors who led us through that last year deserve a ton of credit. So I want a round of applause, and some of them hopefully are here, the band class of 2021. I'll double down on what Mr. Golden said about who we compete against. So the schools that were in finals, the other 11 schools who were in finals, either came from Dallas with 1.3 million people, or Tulsa with 500,000 people, or San Antonio with 1.5 million people, or Austin, Texas with 1 million people, or Cincinnati suburb with 350,000 people, or Indianapolis with 400,000 people, or St. Louis with 1 million people, or Kingsport with 53,000 people. You do that. You do that. You raised awesome kids who understand hard work. You make sure that our city and our school system places importance on excellence in education, which includes music. All right? You do that. Again, to echo Mr. Golden, please keep doing it. Not because we want to have a championship band, but because it's good for kids. So the kids you see before you are Grand Nationals finalists. They are the AAA National Champion in our class. At the ETSU Regional, they won music against what is arguably one of the best 3 high school marching bands year in, year out, Tarpon Springs. And yes, you can applaud for that, absolutely should. At Western Carolina, they swept every category, won the Chancellor's Cup. I think that's the 6th time this organization's won that contest. And this table down here is, we call it, sometimes people call it hardware. You gotta bring home the hardware. I've never liked that term. I have a friend who says what's more important than hardware is heartware. And the memories that kids create when they come together to produce a product that is viewed and respected and moves audiences, that transcends all the trophies. And I think that's why kids come back to band. And I hope that's what they take from band. And that's, you know, a trophy, whatever. But what kids get from band that helps them through all their other things in life, band helps them be better husbands and wives, band helps them be better employees, band helps them be better students, and I think band teaches them how to care about a diverse team of co-workers who are behind a common goal. These kids have exemplified that to the highest degree, all right? Our show is called The Promise of Living, and as you have heard many times, the costumes, the music, reflects the region we're from, Appalachia. If you were at any of our contests, they got it wrong until Grand Nationals every time. Appalachia. And this program has moved audiences all over our country. And people have seen it from every corner of our country at Grand Nationals. I know you're proud of these kids. I am as well. Hey guys, pick your horns up and warm them back up, because I've been talking for 30 minutes. If the folks in the press box will cue up that video, this show was a fan favorite the second we landed in Grand Nationals. So much so that our kids and myself were doing interviews at every corner. After our prelims run, the BOA folks hastily threw together a little feature, like a minute and a half feature on the band, kind of a behind the scenes of Grand Nationals thing that they played during semifinals, and we were the only band they did it for. So I thought you'd find it interesting. It's real short. We'll show this and then we'll do our performance for you. All right, set up an opening set, please, band. I'll remind the students and all of you that these kids have spent a lot of hours together over the last 3.5 months. This is the last time this group of students will ever be all in the same place at the same time. And I think that's pretty powerful given the amount of time they've spent together. And so I encourage you students to enjoy this last run, be in the moment. Last run, best run. Grace? Please welcome your Dobyns-Bennett High School Marching Band. For the final time, the band will be performing their 2021 production, The Promise of Living. Musical selections by Aaron Copeland include The Promise of Living and Appalachian Spring. Dobyns-Bennett High School is proud to present for the last time drum majors Grace Nelson, Bethany Triplett, Connor Hall, Ella Halliburton, and the Dobyns-Bennett High School Marching Band. Hey kids, wave to your parents. Wave. Wave. Thank you. So all of these props are weatherproof. If you can get one home and want it in your front yard, we would love to get it off campus. Not even kidding. Maybe slightly more likely would be your willingness to take one of these black fences, which are also free of charge. If you can get it off campus, take it. Not even kidding. The black fences, actually, we're going to keep the pipes that make up the props. But please take a black fence. We would love for you to have a souvenir of the year. Hey, listen, folks, the support that this band receives is remarkable. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for giving your kids over to us to be with more than you're with them for 4 months of the year. And we look forward to a great rest of the year, and we think we're going to be pretty good next fall too. So hope you'll come around next fall again. Have a great night. Thank you.